already laughing. We haven't even said hello. Hi!
Hello.
Look who we've got. Hiya, Jo.
Hi, okay.
Yeah, well, if you're listening, you can't actually look who we've got, but you can hear who we've got.
Yes.
Yes.
I hope so. If this microphone's working.
That's a really good point, actually, but yeah, it is. I can see it's working.
Fab.
So, yeah, today we're doing something a little bit different because we thought it was about time to bring our Jo onto our podcast. Because I can't believe we haven't.
I can't believe we haven't yet. Well, we did attempt it actually last year.
Good, was
but
it?
The sound was horrific, wasn't it? So we've made everything. So the sound's going to be good today, hopefully.
Yeah, Lisa doesn't normally have a bed sheet hanging behind us like this, but
And normally I iron them.
she don't. She definitely doesn't do that bit. But yeah, it's hung over the wardrobe. So we're back in Lisa's wardrobe, right back where we were at the beginning.
Well, this is kind of where it started, so it only makes sense that this is where we interview Jo. And we're in the bedroom. It's like being a kid. We've been den making.
Yeah.
I feel like we've made a den, do you?
Yeah, it was so much fun being inside it, trying to peg it up. Yeah,
It
brilliant.
might fall down at any time, so let's get started. So what we thought would be really good today is for you to hear, you've heard enough about mine, well certainly my story, you've heard that millions of times. You've started to hear more of Lisa's, but we've heard nothing of Jo's. So are you comfortable sharing your drinking journey and why you quit, Jo?
Yeah.
I thought so, because
Yeah,
that's
what
what
we're
doing.
I'm not. I must confess, I am so rubbish at pre-planning anything. So everything is off the cuff. I did an interview with Josh Connolly in October, and I stressed myself out trying to get it down on paper, and I thought I can't. It just has to flow organically. So hopefully my flow will come.
The good
this
news
morning.
is if you swear, if you slip up, if you stumble, if you bumble, we don't cut it out.
Yes, so no pressure.
That's fine.
I agree with you, Jo, though. I think this is something that I did right at the beginning. I used to have script after script, and I found it really hard because you lay me in all the podcasts going, what's that word? What's that word? And Alex kindly suggests them for me.
They're not usually right, though, are they?
But no. But that's what we want, more organic. And we're all friends, so go for
so
it.
just pretend it's just us three. Sat
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
bedroom, like the teenagers.
Yeah, get comfy. I am.
I can't. My ankles
I'm
are killing after
leaning
you
now.
killed me this morning.
Yeah, I hope you've been following our Keep Fit sessions because it's been great torturing these two at 6 a.m. 3 days a week.
Yeah.
It has been torture as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a little moderate aerobics kind of few star jumps. She actually nearly kills you. Somebody the other day, I've already said this somewhere, but not on a podcast, but somebody the other day said they'd done Jo's workout in our Facebook group and they were going out somewhere, and she said it got to about 8 p.m. last night and rigor mortis set in, and that's what it feels like.
It shows I've done a good job on you.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
it does.
We love it. Really.
Real. No, it does. It makes you feel better afterwards.
No,
I don't think many people enjoy doing it at the actual physical time of doing it. Sometimes even I don't, I must admit, but I've never regret doing a workout.
That's what I have actually realised this last couple of days. Like on Monday, I hated it. I just hated everything, and it wasn't. I was
could
so
tell,
glad. I
yeah.
just didn't like
She
it.
had a big
I weren't-
hissy fit
I weren't- I
afterwards.
weren't in
Well,
the-
this is a crap start to my
Well,
day.
I didn't know that we were starting at 1:45, so that well annoyed me. Then everyone were already jumping up and down. Star jumps make me pee. So I was just like, I hate it, I hate it, I hate
You
it.
do those one leg ones,
Yeah,
don't you? Like,
I have
you
to,
one leg
'cause
out and
otherwise-
So you need to get some tenor ladies. Other brands are available, but I've had to have them from being about 28, I tell you.
It's just after kids, isn't
It
it?
is, it's after kids, it's unavoidable. You just,
Yeah.
yeah.
She was funny though because Lisa's always mega positive, right? And she'll like find the positive in everything. Oh, I'm a bit late, but don't matter. At least I'm going to get to the end. And on Monday it was just like, well, this is shit.
It 100% was.
I did, I heard it. I did enjoy it today though.
Good.
And what I've noticed, Jo, is it's just doing something. So like, it's not that enjoyable at the time, but doing it with people has massively helped me. Just seeing and swiping the screen and looking at you two. Nobody's really helped me, and knowing that it's on the Facebook group has massively helped me. And showing different levels of fitness, I think, is important.
Yeah.
But it's inspired me to eat better, drink better, even since we've been doing
Hey.
it. So I had my smoothie today, I've been for my walk, so I am grateful really. I just don't show
And
was
look
it.
at that,
brilliant.
girls.
I'm
What
glad.
colour's that coffee?
Well done, no cream in the
No
coffee.
cream. Down to 3 black coffees. I'm doing well.
Brilliant.
Well, actually, that's not true. I've just told a lie, nationally and publicly.
You always do about coffee.
I know.
Anybody that listens to this knows, right? One day she'll say she's on 20 cups. Another day she'll say she's on 12. Another day, apparently now, guys, she's on 3.
No, I'm not. Well, I'm not on 3 cups of coffee, right? I'm on 3 cups of white coffee from, honestly, it crept back up to like maybe 10.
Yeah.
So I'm on 3 cups of white coffee, so that was like 2,000 calories. Oh no, it wasn't. 1,200 calories in cream alone.
Which is a lot, which is
Which
what
you have a day.
What I have a day when I'm in a deficit. Yeah.
And I'm going, I don't know why I'm putting on weight. I only eat like a few eggs and stuff like that. Cream. I look like the honey monster on it.
No,
one
you
of those
didn't.
videos.
You made me laugh when you said that.
Oh. Right, come on, Jo's
Right.
story. Let's get to it.
I was quite enjoying that.
Yeah,
Just sort of a
sorry.
hangout.
Well, I think I've always had a love for alcohol. Just always have. I remember my mum actually telling a story. They were having a dinner party. I don't think I've ever told you. Like a dinner party
Exclusive.
when we were only little. I was probably only about 4 or 5, and I smuggled some wine into the Wendy house and drank it with my brother. We're both hiccuping and yeah. So I'm surprised we didn't die. I don't know how. We must have had too much, but yeah, that was my first taste of alcohol.
Gosh.
That was your first secret drinking,
That was my
Jo.
first secret drinking in the Wendy house. But probably forced my poor little brother to have it. Come on, have it.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah. So that was my first. I don't actually remember that. Probably because I got drunk on it maybe. But yeah, because I was so young. But generally, I was brought up in a house that didn't have any alcohol in it. My mum was teetotal. My dad drank, but he died when I was a little girl, so he wasn't really around in my teenage years. But I think growing up in the 90s, you just went out and got leathered with your mates. You know, we'd get a big cheap bottle of cider, was like a little more than £2, I think, you know, for the big 2-litre bottles.
Strongbow and Mary Down.
And yeah, you'd only
White
white
lightning.
lightning. You'd only need a quarter of it and be leathered, and you'd still polish the rest of the bottle off throughout the night. Yeah, that 20 Embassy No. 1, that was every weekend.
Are you a posh?
Oh,
Yeah. We were 20 sovereign.
oh I did grow up in Bramhall, ladies, so you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, just always every weekend revolved around alcohol, but it was absolutely normal kind of in those teenage years. Yeah, sort of, and I don't think I ever was too irresponsible when I was a teenager. That came more in my 30s.
I reckon it does though, you know,
Yeah.
when your tolerance goes up and you kind of get that false sense of security of, oh, well, I can handle my drink. You drink more and more and more. And when you're older as well, you tell everybody, oh, well, I don't care now, I'm older, I can do what I want. But the truth is, you're just making a show of yourself, aren't you?
Oh, God, 100%. So anyway, I had my first child when I was 19. And alcohol really wasn't a big deal in my life for a few years then when I had him. And I had my second child when I was 21. And other than going on holiday and Christmases and stuff, I didn't particularly drink at that time. It was when I split up with their dad, and then I kind of had this freedom that I'd not had in my late teens, early 20s, because I'd been in a relationship for 7 years with him from being only 16. So I think it was playing catch up then and going out more, and part because I had the free time, I didn't have the kids. So that was when drinking probably just started up in a level at that point. Then in 2005 I met who would become my husband. I was working in the pub at the time. Even though I was working in the pub, I didn't drink particularly while I was at work. We had like 1 or 2 after with the Chinese when you'd finish your shift, but that was about it. You know, and it was lovely. I loved working in the pub, apart from you could smoke inside in those days, and it was a very low ceiling. So at the start of my shift, I'd go round and open all the windows, but obviously as people sat down, they'd close them again because they're chilly. And my eyes would sting at the end of the shift, and everything stunk.
Oh,
like,
your
that's-
clothes in your hair.
Oh, it was disgusting. I
Do you remember emptying the ashtrays as well
With
with
the
the
brush.
paintbrush?
Into a tray, and when people had put chewing gum in the ashtrays or spilt drink in it and you had to get the slimy bits out.
It wasn't as bad as cleaning vomit out of the fireplaces. That sometimes people would just throw up in the fireplace.
I thought you
That'd have
threw
been
up in
Alex.
Bramall.
Well, that was. I'd moved to Salford at this point. I'm not slagging Salford off. I love it, and I've been there for many years. But yeah, people in the White Horse in Earlham throw up in the fireplace.
It was probably me.
It probably was. You like to do it in your hands.
Oh, don't.
Yeah. So when I met my husband, he was an absolute sort of lad's lad. He was a proper like out for the football, heavy drinker, you know, recreational drugs, and I'd never really come across drugs or anything up until that point. You know, the odd mate used to take pills when they went to Kinetic on raves and stuff, but no one ever did.
Yeah.
In the, you know, when we were just drinking around the shops or on the park or whatever. So I think I saw quite early on that it was going to be problematic, but you think you can just work through it, don't you? So at first I kind of laid down the law, like we're not having this, but it just carried on anyway. So after a period of time, I thought, well, if I can't beat you, join you. I'll see what it's all about, and you know, I'll do the full-on partying with you. That just was a disaster, absolutely. You know, who knew? You know, having kitchen parties every single weekend could be so detrimental, but it was just awful.
Did you think it was awful at the time?
Partly, yeah. You know,
Yeah.
Eventually, after the first sort of few months, I knew it was, but I felt like we were on this train now that wasn't stopping, because he was never going to be able to stop. I did leave him for a 6-month period because it had gotten out of control. I could not cope with him anymore. So me and the kids moved out into a rented house, and that was when he first reached out for help, and he went to Alcoholics Anonymous and Cocaine Anonymous, and he said to me, can you do it with me, can you help me? And I said, no, if you want to do this, you have got to do this on your own and prove to me. I said, because it's not fair living in this environment with the children. So anyway, he did really, really well. He did really well for a good 6 months. He was going to the meetings, he had a sponsor, he really kept on the straight and narrow. We'd bought a caravan down in Great Yarmouth, so every single weekend, because we're both self-employed, we'd pack the kids up and we'd be down there, and it was fab. So he was like, move back with us, let's have another baby. This was baby number 4, because we're nailing it. So I thought, well, fantastic, it's all worked out. Less than a month after that positive pregnancy test, he was back drinking. He wasn't going to his meetings, and I felt stuck. You know, I'd given up the house I was renting.
Yeah.
My house that I still had a tenant in it, so I couldn't just turf them out. And you feel extra stuck because you're carrying a baby. So it was really, really difficult throughout that pregnancy. Was very, very hard and very isolating, really, because I didn't openly speak about it with many people. I mean, I don't know whether it's embarrassment or you know it's illegal or you're just in denial about it. And I actually remember the head teacher from my daughter's school phoned up and said, can you come in, we need to have a word with you. They'd done a drugs awareness class, and my daughter had said, I've seen cocaine at my house.
Oh,
right.
No.
So, because she'd seen messaging on the work services when she's gotten up in the morning when he brought people back to the house. So what can I say really to that? I said, obviously, I was 8 months pregnant at this time. It's not me, you know.
Oh, that must have been
Stepdad brought an individual back to the house. He had to basically lie out of it.
Yeah.
But an individual back that he wouldn't normally bring back, and the matter has been dealt with, and you know, it's not going to happen again. I was absolutely feared to death of having my kids taken off me.
Oh God.
And I think that's what stops a lot of people. Sorry to interrupt you. That's what stops so many people from coming forward and asking for help. It's the fear, and the same with children, because we speak about this on the volunteering for Nicole we've done.
Yeah.
The same with the children. the fear of the family being torn apart is what stops everybody speaking up and what keeps that secret a secret.
Yeah, and it does have a lot of power and a lot of hold over you. It really does. So, I mean, and I told him, out of hoping it'd shake him enough to stop again.
Yeah.
And all he said was, well, keep that little bitch away from me. I'm like, I'm sorry, she's 10. She's told the truth. You tell your children to tell. I'm proud that she spoke up as much as I cringed about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, if that was something else, if somebody was abusing her or some, at least I'd know that she was talking. So, but he was so in that mindset. That was the most important thing to him, and he didn't care. I remember telling you the story because I was due to have a home birth.
Oh, I was so hoping you were going to tell this story.
I'm sorry, I just need to get comfy.
Yeah.
I know, my knees are killing.
My feet have lost the feeling.
I know, right? I was having a home birth, and you know we had a nice spacious house, so I had a birth pool all set up in the dining room, you know, and the birth bot all ready because I had my first baby at 37 weeks, so you kind of expect your following babies could come at any time. Anyway, he didn't. He had to defy and be 3 days late, but that's another story. But this one weekend, my husband had gone out and he'd gone out to watch football, and it was never just going out to watch football. He either wouldn't come back for days or he'd come back with half the pub. Anyway, this night, it was the week I was due. He came back with 2 of his mates. I heard the drug dealer drop off, and I could hear them all in the kitchen, and I was furious because I thought I could have this baby tonight. He's going to be off his face. He's got all these lads in the kitchen. So I walked downstairs to fill my water up, but I could have done it upstairs, but just really
Make your point.
to make my point. Yeah. So I walked into the kitchen, and his friend was naked in my birth pool, bouncing on my birth ball, while my husband was filming him, laughing their heads off.
Oh, right.
So anyway,
Is it okay
honestly,
to laugh?
I can laugh now, but I imagine being the week your baby is due
And he's there.
and
and
hormonal and everything. I was furious. So I walked in.
I love Jo.
I was furious. And it just was like a scratch record. Stop. They froze. It was like the headmistress had just walked into the room and they were just waiting. So I filled my bag. I could see this particular drug dealer would only drop off 3 grams because he came from quite far away. So to make it worth his while, so they had 3 grams of cocaine, which had cost them nearly 200 quid.
Wow.
That they'd just cut up on the end of the breakfast bar. So I filled my pint glass with water and I poured it all over the coke.
Yeah! Go on!
So, and then
I bet they were furious.
he went mad at me. He called me a psycho bitch. What you doing? And I was like, I'm the psycho bitch. I'm meant to be giving birth in there. I could have this baby tonight, and he's in there naked. Oh my God, I was furious. So he just phoned the drug dealer and got another 3 dropped off, and carried on the party in the conservatory. So that's really what I was up against with him. So once I'd had the baby, he got 6 months old, and I sat him down. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember it really clearly. I took the kids to school. He was sat in the front room watching Jeremy Kyle with a bottle of red wine and a gram of coke on a Tuesday morning. And he was really cross that I knew that he'd had coke, and he's like, how do you know? And I'm like, yeah, the key's missing out the door. And he said, you should work for the FBI. So I said, listen, I'm not arguing with you, but I think we need to get divorced because it's not fair on me, it's not fair on the children. I can't keep being in this environment with them. And he said, you're dead right, I love doing this more than I love you and them kids. So yeah, let's do this. So so that was that really. Well, it wasn't that, there was more. It ended up getting quite messy, and he got arrested sort of, you know, a few weeks down the line. But yeah, me and my kids moved out of that marital home back into what was my house, where we still are now.
It's mad though, isn't it? You know, like how much that people will tolerate before breaking point. You always think, don't you, it's going to get better, it's going to get, and you convince yourself, I'll stay for the kids, you know, you really reminded me of a story where my ex actually, I was pregnant with my eldest, so this is like 16 years ago, so I was only quite young, and we'd gone out on New Year's Eve and I was 3 months pregnant, and he must have taken something, but like you, I'd never been in anything to do with drugs really, apart from the weed that we tried when we were kids. I'd never really bothered with any of it. And in the middle of the night, we'd had a bit of an argument because I wanted to go home New Year's Eve, because you don't want to be out. But even then I had I know my drinking wasn't that bad then. I had a glass of champagne at midnight and I literally took a sip to cheers and left it on the bar. I wouldn't have done that later. I'd have finished that one glass, you know. But I was in bed in the middle of the night, and he was staying at his mum and dad's, and he actually got up and he was out of his head, and he opened the drawer where my clothes were and peed on them. Peed on all my clothes that I were going to wear on New Year's Day, and then we had a massive argument, and he ended up kicking me, and I was pregnant, and hitting me. And I still stayed. His mum actually said to me afterwards, like, you know, you're pregnant, what are you going to do? And they knew it had happened, but because I thought, yeah, I'm pregnant, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You stay.
You feel more vulnerable when you're pregnant, definitely, even though I had the strength to leave him before I was pregnant, and I still had 3 kids in tow and a business to run and everything else. There is just that extra thing, and I think maybe romanticising it as well. Well, he's been able to stop before, maybe he can do it again, because I did love him. It sounds daft because he was, I mean, I've only touched on the problems in our marriage. There was, you know, a lot more. One day when I write a book, it'll all be out there.
Can't wait,
but
Jo.
It's hard. It's really hard. And when you look from an outsider, like I know a lot of people say, why don't they just leave him? You know, domestic violence cases, etc. It's not as clean cut as that. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. And love is a strong emotion. And if you love someone, even if they're pushing you around and you know, being really mean to you, it's hard sometimes to walk away.
You come to need them, don't you, as well, or believe you need them.
Yeah. I used to have this with my ex-husband, and your story is really, really similar to mine and my ex-husband's. And Alex, you just saying that about him peeing in your drawer. I woke up once to my ex-husband sat on me with his pants down on the bed. He'd actually climbed on the bed and sat on me, and I think he was going to have a poo because he was sat. He wasn't like stood
You
to
were
have
the
a wee.
toilet.
Yeah, and I remember just getting up and pushing him off, and that was just one thing. And now if that had have happened early on, I'd have been like, and you
Get
know,
out.
on the stairs as well. I remember once Bethany coming in saying all the top of the stairs is wet, and he peed all over the top of the stairs. And I've had things brought. My banister is still missing. Nobody can find the right spindle to fix this
Why don't you
banister.
take all the spindles
It just
out?
drives me mad. It always reminds me, but things like that. And I always remember thinking, because we've always spoke, haven't we, about our relationship issues or what have you. We've always called each other. And I remember thinking, if Alex was telling me some of the things that have happened to her, I'd be like, oh, how, if her partner had spoke to her like he did me, I'd be like, you need to leave him.
Yeah.
What on earth are you doing? Have some respect for yourself. Get up and walk out. But I couldn't.
No.
I don't know why. I just couldn't. And it really
It's sad, like, I know we're like having a bit of a joke about it, but there's
I
certain
think you've
moments
got to laugh now about it. You
Yeah.
have, because you know, I've accepted it, I've dealt with it. You know, I'm safe, my children are safe. We're happier now than we ever have been. But at the time, you just can't see that you're ever going to get happiness. It's horrible. But I think I had to do it for my children, and that probably stems back to my childhood, because my mum never put us first.
Yeah.
And it was breaking that cycle. I know we talk about breaking cycles with alcohol, and when you're in a household with parents who drink a lot, you know, sometimes the children then drink a lot and it's breaking cycles. But this for me was breaking a cycle of being a good parent and keeping them safe over anything else, over my own feelings. And I reckon it took me 2 years at least to get over leaving him. I remember about 18 months Googling one morning, like, how long does it take to get over divorce? And it was because it really, really upset me. No matter what he'd done, I loved him, and it was really hard decision to leave him.
It's a real physical pain as well, isn't it? You know, when people talk about heartache, when I broke up with my ex, even though I'd moved on by the time I broke up with him, when I physically made the move, I'd already met Sam. So, you know, I'm not ashamed to say it now. I used to be, but my heart ached, and it wasn't necessarily for him because I wanted him back, but I really mourned the loss of that unit, and I felt guilt for my children, even though I knew they were better out of it. I thought, oh my God, one thing I didn't ever want was for my children to be from a broken home. I saw something really. What was it, you that said it's better to be from?
Yeah, it's better to have come from a broken home than live in a broken home, and
that's
that
the
rings
first
so
time
true.
I've ever gone. When you said that the other day,
It was in Josh's interview.
yeah, when I saw that, it's the first time I thought, oh my God, I wish somebody had said that to me 10 years ago, because I've carried so much guilt about leaving, because I thought, well, it's my needs. But looking back, it was damaging for them as well, really damaging. And you don't think, and here's something, you always think your arguments and your battles happen when the kids are in bed and when they're not there. But after a drink particularly, you don't know what they see and hear, because my mum and dad, when they used to argue, I know they didn't know we knew everything. And when we've had conversations since, she was like, how do you know that? You were in bed. And I was like, we weren't. We were sat on the stairs crying or...
Yeah, scared.
Yeah. And it's just because you're in your own bubble and your own world, and especially, like I say, if there's alcohol and drugs involved, you don't really have a sense of reality, do you?
No.
It's a really sad story, but also with quite a nice, happy ending, that.
Yeah, so I'm glad I did it. So then I went into another relationship years later, and we ended up living together for a short period, but our family units didn't gel. We parented very, very differently. Our kids just clashed all the time. It was really, it was a battle all of the time. So we agreed it wasn't working living together anyway. So we separated. And again, I went back to my house. So thank God I never sold that house. It's like the magnet keeps sucking me back. But it was when me and this partner were trying to kind of rekindle our relationship, that I was sexually assaulted at a party that he was having, because it was a really big house that we rented together. It had 4 double bedrooms. It was massive. So for him to afford to stay there, he rented 2 rooms out to some of his Polish mates that had all come to live in Earlham to get some money and then go back home. So they were having this party because it was his birthday and it was his housemate's birthday on the same weekend. So we'd been to another friend's barbecue for their birthday in the afternoon, and I'd had maybe 1 bottle of wine, if that, but with food. And at this point, I'd been drinking a lot more than I ever had done. So a bottle of wine, I'd have that before we even went out on the night out. Yeah, that was like pre-drinks, and we were fine. So I was, probably slightly tipsy, but certainly not blackout drunk. So we got to that party. It was getting on a bit. It was about 10 by the time we got there, and his housemate gave me a drink, and it was Jack Daniels. I didn't drink Jack Daniels. Oh, whiskey.
Oh,
it's
no,
disgusting.
You haven't
I
seen
like
any of the
whiskey.
drinks now.
I know.
I can still feel how gross it is. So he'd given me that, and I was like, not very nice really. So I'd left it on the side while I went out for a fag, and I came back in, finished that drink. I'd got another drink, and then the next thing I remember was my boyfriend waking me up because I was just passed out on the couch, and this party was going on at the back of the house. It had a big like kitchen dining room with bifolding doors that just open right out, and we had the bouncy castle up in the back garden, so everyone was really at the back of the house. So this couch at the front of the house. So he was like, "Wait, I've been looking for you," and I'd actually been sick, and I had sick in my hair.
You sound like my kind of girl.
All down my top. So he was like, "Come on." So he got me upstairs, and I just couldn't stop being sick. I was being sick that violently. I'd actually wet myself as well at the same time when I was retching. Polykids of the weak pelvic floor.
Yeah. Should have had you
Should have had me telling the lady on. So he ended up undressing me to my underwear and putting me in bed. So it was his bed that used to be my bed when I lived in that house. So felt quite safe and comfortable in there, away from all the noise of the party. And but I couldn't stand up. He had to help me walk to the bed. I was like a newborn foal, with the legs just keep giving way. And it's just so weird because alcohol's never done that to me. Don't get me wrong, I've been blackout drunk before, thrown up before, but never like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd gone to sleep, and then I know I mentioned it in like Josh's interview. It was weird. It was like when your alarm clock goes off and you associate it with something else in your dream. It's a car alarm or something else, but you're coming round. And I was dreaming that I was being attacked by a dog, which is so random because I've never been attacked by a dog. Oh. And it was like this horrible, aggressive kind of feeling. Anyway, I realised that there was somebody sexually assaulting me. It was under the duvet. So I put my hands down, and my boyfriend was bald, and I felt a bald head, so I thought it was him, so I bloody whacked him. Like, what? I was furious. I thought, how dare you do
because even if it's your boyfriend, you're asleep, you're unconscious.
Completely unconscious. I was furious. So anyway, my boyfriend was quite skinny and really, really hairy, so this body reared up, and it was like a proper muscular, clean-shaven chest, and I was like, that's not my boyfriend. And anyway, it was this man that was at the party with his wife, and I was like, what are you doing? So he came really, really, really close to my face and just said, I am sorry, Joanne, and left the room. I mean, thank God, because I don't know what I would have done if he had stayed.
Yeah, if he'd have just decided that he was staying.
Yeah, I just don't know what I would have done. I mean, I knew there was a machete in the wardrobe, but I don't know if I would have been able to get to it to whack him with it.
I love the fact that you're like, I knew there was a machete there. No, I could have grabbed my bag or whacked him with a lamp or something.
I'm totally
just the machete was there.
I'm a big fan of The Walking Dead. I don't know if anyone's seen it. Michonne is a badass, and I totally would have Michonne the bastard.
Michonne? She's just made Michonne into a verb. I would have Michonne him. I love it.
So he left, and I was kind of just lay there in disbelief, really. It was like you weren't, I don't know. It was like I wasn't there. It was so weird. I don't even know how long it took me to then get up, find some clothes to put on, and actually steady my feet so I could stand, because I was still a bit wobbly. This was actually 3 a.m. by this time when I looked at the clock. So I couldn't find my shoes. I'd got dressed, I couldn't find my shoes. I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to go home. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to phone the police. I didn't want to do anything but get into the safety of my own house. So I went down the stairs, and my shoes were in the kitchen. Obviously that's where the party was, and everyone was in the kitchen and in the garden. So my boyfriend was like, oh, she's alive, come on, you joining the party? No, I just want my shoes because I want to go home. So he was instantly really pissed off with me. Why do you want to go home? We're supposed to be trying to patch our relationship up, and you won't even stay here, So I'm like, I just want to go home. Then his housemate come over, because it wasn't his housemate that had assaulted me, it was his friend. And he was like, why are you going hot? And they were both very like, why? And because they were blackout drunk at this point. So I said, right, Neil, I will take you upstairs and I'll explain to you, but only to you. And then the guy that had assaulted me turned up in the hall with my bleeding shoes and went, here are your shoes. So
what
just
a cheeky bastard.
Absolute hard face. So I snatched them off him and went upstairs. So I explained what had happened, and I think because my boyfriend was so blackout drunk, he just couldn't comprehend it. So he just pushed me really hard, pushed me over, and I had a bruise the size of an A4 piece of paper on my thigh from where I fell. So then he came over me, so I whacked him with my stiletto. Well, only little stilettos, because I can't really do big stilettos, more of a kitten heel. Whacked him, and then ended up walking home with just one shoe anyway. So I should have just bleeding walked home with no shoes on. So yeah, I was just so sick all night, sort of on and off sleeping, being sick in between. And then he come round to my house about 8 o'clock the morning after. And he was like, why did you go home? He couldn't even remember that I told him I'd been sexually assaulted. That's how drunk he was. so I told him what had happened, and it took him a while really to comprehend it and it sink in. He's like, well, we need to phone the police. So I said, well, what are the police gonna do? I don't know how they're gonna do anything. You know, will it not be my word against his or whatever? You know, you talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
So he said, well, if it was your daughter, what would you do? And I was like, well, I'd phone the police. So he's like, so why not for you then? So I said, right, I will, but I needed to feel a bit better first. I was horrendous. I felt awful, absolutely shockingly, like the worst hangover I've ever had. And I knew I needed to take my son to work. He was working at McDonald's at that time because he was at college. So I was like, I need to do my mum duties first, drop him off at work, and then pick him up from work at 4 before I can even deal with anything.
I can feel the feeling.
Yeah, it was awful. So he went back home to speak to his housemates, and that bloke was actually there. So, and he dropped to his knees and was like, you know, please, you know, pleading forgiveness from my boyfriend. So he was like, get the fuck out. Yeah. So then I thought, I just need to have a shower. I just got to have a shower. I just felt awful. So I just got out the shower, and he turned up at my house with his wife.
On that day?
On that day, the morning after he'd assaulted me, he turned up at my house. So of course I wasn't very vocal and able to stand up for myself the night before, but I could then. I was outside, honestly, just like my bloody dressing gown and wet hair, screaming like a banshee, like, you know, get the fuck away from my front door and all this. And he was like, please, my children, my sons, please, no police. Get away. I'm phoning the police. Get away from my front door. His wife doesn't speak English, so I don't even know if she understood what was happening at that time.
Oh, gosh.
But she's still with him. Like, but that's their business. So after we'd picked my son up from work, I phoned the police, and they were so incredible. They were really, really nice and supportive. And they got back to me within 5 minutes and said, we've got a specialist female officer at Eccles, which was the closest to our house anyway. You go there, she'll look after you. And she was so lovely. So, God, I was there for hours, about 3 hours, and they interviewed my boyfriend in a separate room and interviewed me, and then they take like all your DNA and all that and go through it all. And then while I was sat there, they were on the radio and they were at his house, and you could hear them arresting him.
It must have given you some sort of, not satisfaction, that's the wrong word, but like relief that something was being done.
That they were being done, and they believed me straight away. There wasn't ever a question.
So
like,
amazing.
I was going to ask that actually, because I think that's probably what stops people going forward in something like this, is especially if they've been drinking themselves and they've been at a party. I think my first reaction would be, they're not going to believe me, I was drunk. So I think it's really important to pick up on that they did actually really understand and believe you straight away.
They did straight away. There was never a question in it. They were so good. So then they got me an appointment for later that night. It was about 12:30 at night for the sexual assault referral centre over at St Mary's. But I had funeral flowers I still had to make for my best friend's mum, who was having her funeral on the Monday morning. So I went from the police station to work. My boyfriend came with me. Made all the flowers, loaded them all up into the van.
It's like you went in autopilot.
Yeah.
So you kind of well, they reckon though, any trauma, you take yourself out of your body, and that's probably why
Just
you were
carry
like,
on.
It didn't feel like me. I didn't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So so all the funeral flowers were in the van while I was at the sexual assault centre. So they were really nice. We were the only people there other than 2 doctors, and they literally, they'd like take your blood. Get your legs up in stirrups and I was like, I remember during the examination, I was like, you're really hurting me, that really hurts. So she's like, I'll carry on and then I'll explain everything to you. They were so lovely. So anyway, what was hurting was there was actually like lacerations, there was blood blisters, there was like so much damage, and she said, you don't damage your intimate areas. like they don't get damaged. you know, it's because you have been assaulted, and that's really good. So I said to her, I was worried
That's
because I'd
really
had
good.
no, they could prove it.
Yeah.
So I was dead worried because I'd had a shower, and she said it's so natural. She said, but to be perfectly honest with you, we've pulled bodies out of rivers that have been there for days and still got DNA. So they got it regardless. So yeah, forensics had gone and took the bed sheets off, everything. So they were really taking it seriously, which was good. Yeah, so I don't really know.
You're so brave telling it, Jo, again.
I know, I'm kind of getting used to speaking about it now, and it hasn't. I used to cry my eyes out when I spoke about it, but I generally spoke about it when I was really drunk.
Yeah, well, you do.
Because that was the only time.
Because
I didn't talk, because I remember my boyfriend, I don't know if it was out of embarrassment for him, whether he felt he'd let me down or whatever, he was like, don't tell anyone, we need to keep it just between ourselves.
Like a shame, yeah.
So it was never, and I listened to him, and I think, why did I listen to you? Because I should have just been able to tell people. So yeah, it's only recently I've been speaking out about it. So it took a long time to get to court. It went to court on my daughter's birthday. So the attack happened in August, and this was a July after.
So almost a year.
And almost a year, like give or take like 3 weeks off a year. But again, at the court, they were really nice. They gave me a pre-court visit a week before. So like they walk you around everywhere, show you where you're going to be sitting, where he's going to be sitting, where the jury are going to be. And on that day, I had my first ever and my only ever panic attack. When my friend was driving me back from the court, and I was like, you need to stop. I couldn't breathe or anything. It was awful. So of course I just went and got leathered, like you do. But I did phone the doctors actually and explain the situation to him and said, can you give me anything to calm me down on the actual day of the court case? So he gave me some diazepam. They're not allowed to give you many, are they? Because they can be highly addictive. Just to chill me out. So I thought, I'll try one the day before rather than having excited. My body don't tolerate medication at all. If I'm ill, I can only take paracetamol. So I dislocated my knee and was on really strong painkillers. I couldn't have them. Oh God, they were awful. But instead of like calming me down, they seemed to make me do more. So I remember decorating our Lauren's bedroom, and I was like, oh God, I don't know if these are going to work for me, you know, the diazepam, because it kind of upped me instead of downed me. So I tried one anyway in the morning, and I was all right, I think. But they sit you in like a big kitchen really, when you can make a brew and that. And 2 of my friends came with me to court, and we were there for hours in the morning while they were. And he tried everything. Like there was a language barrier, but he didn't have a language barrier. He speaks very good English. You know, well, she's British. British girls are up for it. That you know, they get drunk and they're up for it. He trying everything to the barristers, and at the very very last minute, it was about 10-1, and we'd been there from 8:30 in the morning. He pleaded guilty because they basically said, if you plead not guilty and she comes in now and we find you guilty, you will definitely have a custodial sentence. So he pleaded guilty and he didn't get a custodial sentence. He got 2 years suspended for 2 years. He has to sign the sex offenders register for life, and he had to pay me compensation. And it was like a sort of a big amount. They'd never, like the police said, they've never seen an amount so significant. But I didn't want any money.
Yeah. Doesn't give you back what he took, does it?
Money. No, it's like he'd given me an absolute mental breakdown. I had to quit my job. I ended up drinking really heavily to black it all out, really. That relationship that I was building up, that was never going to work anyway, that just wasn't going to happen. So we ended up completely separated. And he still lives in my local area, which really annoys me. I remember I voice noted you two over the other day.
I know, I can't believe it.
I'm a florist, so a lady had ordered some flowers and was delivering them to a house. And I know he'd moved because he literally lived the street off my street when this happened, and he's moved to another part of our local area. I knew whereabout, but not exactly. And where I pulled up to deliver these flowers, it was his house. The car was there. Yeah, and you know, my lady's house was a few doors down because it was so dark and tree lined. I couldn't see the numbers.
You must have been heart
But
racing.
I voice noted you too. I was like, oh my god, you'll never believe this. My heart's pounding. But yeah, it is. It's a bit crappy that, because I think you've moved to my local area from a foreign country to come and work. You don't really have to stay there. Why don't you just move to the next town or whatever? And I was thinking it's bloody cheeky.
It's not the first time, is it? You've run into him since.
No.
Literally,
yeah.
No, 7 days after the assault, I'd stopped at our little Tesco to get my next door neighbour a bottle of wine and a birthday card. Don't buy wine for gifts now.
No, I don't.
I don't.
I did then, and as I was waiting to pull out of the car park onto the main road, 2 motorbikes had pulled out of a street further up and were passing me, so I was waiting for them to pass before I pulled out. So as I pulled out, one of them crashed, and he was just backflipping like 3 times on his bike, but he not hit anything. So I was like, that's weird. So I put my hazard lights on to stop the traffic so he didn't get run over, because he was laying on the floor with his motorbike. So first aid trained, so I was ready to like jump out and going off a first aid to this motorcyclist and then phone an ambulance or whatever. But all of a sudden he jumped up and he starts pulling the motorbike off the road onto the path. So I thought, what's he doing? He might be really injured, and you could see his jeans were all torn and blood was like pouring down his legs. And that he lifted the visor up, and it was him. It was him that had assaulted me.
I bet you just had to take everything in your body not to go.
Not to run him over.
Yeah.
I was absolutely gobsmacked. Couldn't believe it. But so I can only assume he noticed it was me and panicked.
Yeah.
I've never been on a motorbike, but accelerated too fast, and that's what made him flip.
Well, they say what goes around, don't they?
Yeah. So that was a bit of
that is weird.
A bit of karma, I guess, that was served to him only a week after he'd done what he'd done. So yeah.
I know that, like, just fast forward into when you kind of stopped drinking, then I don't want to cut anything significant out, but you've said if you hadn't been drinking that night, what happened to you probably wouldn't have happened, and not as a victim blaming thing, but do you just want to kind of share on that, Jo, before we finish?
It's just that now I don't drink. It's just really highlighted to me, if someone who has only had a cup of tea or whatever suddenly becomes unconscious and is severely vomiting and can't stand up and can't walk, you would phone an ambulance for that person.
Yeah.
It's quite shocking that we assume alcohol just does that to you and that's okay.
Yeah. It is, isn't
so
it?
in the situation I was in, I strongly believe that it wouldn't have ever happened to me.
Because you think people would have noticed there was
people would have
something wrong.
noticed there was something wrong and been more concerned about that, definitely. And I'm not taken away, and it doesn't matter whether you're drinking alcohol or not. No one has the right to assault you ever. I remember being really, really cross because CID came round a couple of months before the court case, and they said his defence want a photograph of what you were wearing on the night.
How dare they?
So I was like, and he kind of, you could see he was cringing saying it to me because he was in the firing line, because I was like, the cheeky bastard. So I said, it don't matter, I could have been wearing stockings and suspenders, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, you didn't ask for it.
I didn't ask for it.
No.
I said, but as it happened, you know, I had high waist jeans on and a floaty top that you would have gone to your nan's for Sunday dinner in. You know, I wasn't wearing anything.
How awful that you've got to justify that.
Yeah, so I said, you know
Especially now as well. You know,
I said, I haven't got a photo, but you can actually have it because I'm not going to wear it again anyway. They'd already took my bottoms for forensics, so I just gave them the top. But I think it's really, really out of order that they're even allowed to go down that path. Well, she asked for it. She asked for it. It's wrong because no one ever asked for it.
Never ever. That is really bad, isn't
Unless
it?
you say yes, it's assumed you've said no, isn't it? That's the rules around consent.
Yeah.
And if you've had a drink, you can't consent anyway. That's the law. So actually, that couldn't have gone much in his favour anyway. But I don't know when that became law, but they do say, don't they, you cannot consent under the influence of alcohol. So, good for you, anyway, because, like, you know, standing up for yourself, going to court, I know it all didn't work out exactly how you would have wanted.
No, but it's hopefully going to prevent him from doing it again, because I strongly believe I wasn't his first, for him to be so
Yeah.
ballsy and do it, where there was about 40 people at this party, including his wife, including my boyfriend. For him to have the balls to do that, that's never his first time. And he used to be a bouncer. So how many drunk, vulnerable women has he come across in the past? And it makes me cringe. So at least he can never do that as a job. He has got to sign a sex offenders register, and hopefully it will protect any further victims of him anyway.
Oh, just think you're so brave, Jo, and I know
do.
like people will be blown away by your story, and honestly, knowing you now, this is actually just a tiny part of your story.
Yeah.
So flipping it.
And we'll do another podcast for a bit more of Jo's story. But do you know what's been lovely? That even through telling such a tragic, horrible story, the three of us have managed to have our friendship shine through and have a bit of a laugh as well.
Yeah, you've got to. I'm a big believer in you've got to laugh. You can't let it sort of make you sad all the time, because then it's beat you.
And there must have been times, Jo, that you did feel like that. What did you do to kind of pick yourself up and...
Well, I got pissed every single time. I felt like that.
Don't do that! Don't do that!
No. And it was only...
Well, I got pissed. That's what I did.
The first anniversary, I'd say. Because aren't we weird? We carry anniversaries round. And remember sad days.
Like,
why?
Yeah.
You
Why?
can't help it though, can you?
I know, but we do it and we torture ourselves. And we had actually booked at Bee Sober CIC up Snowdon
Yeah.
on the anniversary, the first anniversary of it, when I was not drinking. And I think it coincided with that ex in question getting remarried at the same time.
It did, yeah, it was the same weekend.
So I was like, I really need this hike up Snowdon. There was only a flaming thunderstorm and it had to be called off because the weather was just going to be too dangerous to do it. And I banked everything on being with the Bee Sober guys was going to get me through.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'd booked a hotel in Carnarvon. So I still went. I went with my daughter and with my youngest son, and we just had a weekend away there. So it was lovely because we just, even though the weather was rubbish, we walked around the village, which was dead pretty.
Yeah.
And I think getting in the outdoors, just getting away when you need to get away, and having that bit of me time and family time, it's really important.
Yeah.
When I am feeling really negative and really bad, and when I normally would have just gone, oh sod it, let's get a drink, I exercise. It just does it for me every time. I really need it. It's like you know,
medicine.
it is.
It's
And with
your
the
therapy
lockdowns,
now.
when the gyms have been closed, luckily my gym has still offered Zoom classes, and so you're able to still work out at home. It's not the same, because like you say, it's nice to have people around you and do it with you.
It's helping though, having the three of us. You know, it means we've got to get up, we've got to do it, because we're all holding each other
it's so easy
accountable.
to just turn your alarm off and have another half an
I nearly
hour.
did this morning.
Yeah. So yeah, exercise for me is everything, rather than being a workaholic and drinking a lot, which was what I did in the first place.
Yes.
I need to cut down on that workaholic thing.
We all do. Can I ask you like one last thing then, in terms of like giving up drinking, how has it changed you? How, like, just physically, mentally, emotionally, how has it changed you?
Oh my God, I am unrecognisable, both physically and mentally, I'd say, completely.
Yeah, we've seen the pictures.
Yeah. I mean, God, when I was at my most miserable, just before I gave up drinking, I was like over 2 stone heavier. You know, I was puffy. My eyes were dull. Everything. I just felt like crap every single day because I was just drinking so much. It was awful. Now I am, I'm up at 5:30 every morning, no matter what. I do a workout, spend lots more time with the kids, just happier and a nicer person, I reckon, all round. You're not always grumpy and hungover and stuff. And it's the people that I've met as well that are true connections.
Yeah.
They're not sort of false. I love all of my friends dearly, but those that I just used to get drunk with have sort of filtered out. They've dwindled away because they still love going out and getting drunk. So we haven't got that in common anymore. And then you soon realise that was all you really had in common. Was that you love to have a drink. So yeah, all the people I've met with Bee Sober are like fab.
Oh,
We're
so
like
you
a
feel
family
good. Look, we
now.
are like a family. Should we have a little hug?
Yeah, I think we
Oh.
Oh, I love you lots, and I know
Aw.
Lisa loves you lots, and I'm so grateful that we met through you and Lisa meeting. It was like, I don't know, this is a person who don't believe in universe or didn't, but it is really like
Do
the
you
universe.
know?
Yeah, I do now.
I'm so glad that you do.
I
It
do.
does work in mysterious ways.
Yeah, it does. So honestly, thanks so much for sharing your story and
Thank you,
being
Jo.
brave, and finally coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
It's brilliant,
I
isn't
know,
it?
I've been itching to get
I
on.
know.
It's my first ever podcast.
Yay, you've done it.
I know, and I don't listen to your podcast just because
I'll
Thanks.
cut that bit out.
Okay, well I did that.
I don't want to be a weird fangirl with you.
Yeah.
It's like, it's nice how it is, so yeah, I've never listened. Maybe I will now.
You might have to listen to one. But yeah, we don't edit it, so everything you've just said, including the fact that you don't listen to the podcast, is on there. So
We still love you, John.
we do, just a bit less. So yeah, thank you everybody for listening, and as usual, if you like what we do, give us a review,
And share.
and if you don't like it, keep it to yourself.
Yep, don't tell us all.